Hello, hello.
So thanks for joining us on
Thanks for
a
having me.
Saturday afternoon. So just to kind of kick things off, I wanted to say John started Lemur Inc. back in 2016 as an online source for fountain pens, ink, notebooks, and other writing tools. Um, I have to ask first, what is the story behind the company name? Why name it for a primate from Madagascar?
Well, first of all, you know how to pronounce it. Some people think it's a French name. So I've heard people say Lamour Inc. People who don't know, my like UPS guy will say, "Is this Lamour Inc.?" Which I guess isn't a bad thing. But I've always liked lemurs. I think it started with a Simpsons episode back in the '90s, kind of the obscure primate that is hard to pronounce. And I've always liked them, and I've always said if I ever start a company, I'm going to name it Lemur something. And Lemur pens didn't work, so Lemur Ink was born when I started a fountain pen store. So it was pretty simple, actually. It was just kind of obvious to me. I thought this is what I have to name it.
Okay. Okay. So the fact you say Lemur ink made more sense. So did you initially start by selling off ink then and then expand
No,
into other
no,
products, or
I
was
wanted
it
to
just
start.
kind of everything all at once?
Yeah, everything all at once. Some people think I just deal exclusively in ink, which again isn't a bad thing. But I do everything, and we're like a one-stop shop basically. Where I'm trying to become one, and the name just kind of stuck. It sounded better than Lemur Pens or Lemur Fountain Pen Store or something. So, or Lemur Stationery. I went through a whole list of names and probably writing it with my first fountain pen, which was Alami Safari, and back in 2016 when I was starting it, and then we launched it in April of 2017, and yeah, it's been fun. But yeah, Lemur was just kind of like a name that I just knew. I knew it had to be called that. For me, there was no question. I'm obsessed with lemurs. I just like them as an animal, and thought the name stuck. So that was it.
Okay. Okay. So what product lines are you currently offering in your shop? What do you see as being, super popular lately?
I mean, we sell a lot of Twisby fountain pens. They were one of our first brands that we carried along with Lamy and Pilot. And our free shipping at $20 kind of lends itself to people who are especially new to fountain pens buying their first fountain pen and not having to pay shipping is kind of a nice deal. So we sell a lot of like Pilot Metropolitans, Lamy Safaris, Kaweco Sports, and Twisby's. We're trying to move up into higher end pens. It's definitely difficult, but we sell a lot of ink, a lot of pens. Ink from all over the world really is kind of the fun part for me. I was an international studies major in college, so having ink from all over the world is fun. Getting to meet those people, kind of hear their stories about how they started making ink and how the ink differs from country to country is really, really fun and exciting. So, yeah, I mean, I'd say, our bread and butter is just, I mean, people will like restock paper, ink, pens, new launches. We just had the Twisby Iris VAC 700R, and we sold out of every nib pretty quickly. And we just caught up on Fountain Pen Day shipping, which is really fun. So yeah, I'm basically running an Amazon warehouse. It feels like sometimes out of my house.
That's kind of a good problem to have, right?
It
When you're
is.
a
It's
small
fun. It's
business
fun.
with online store. So I did want to talk to you about these ink brands. You're one of the few that was initially selling Australian ink brands like Blackstone and Robert Oster,
Hmm.
and they, in my view, and you can correct me if I'm wrong about this, they seem to have burst onto the scene in like the last 5 to 6 years. And what would you say differentiates these Australian ink brands from the others?
I'm not really sure. So many people ask me that. Some people think I just when I, especially at pen shows, because I would have Blackstone and Robert Oster, um, just to try to separate myself from other vendors. And you know, they think, are you do you only carry Australian inks? I'm like, I love Australia. I want to go to Australia, but I don't have like any penchant just for Australian inks. They just for whatever reason, Robert Oster and Blackstone just had incredible ink colors, and I just kind of gravitated towards those. Unfortunately, Blackstone's kind of gone off the map lately. I to my understanding, they stopped making ink during COVID, and they've kind of gone off the grid. So kind of sad to see that one go. Hopefully they come back after COVID, but I think COVID kind of freaked the founder of them out a little bit. So.
Well, that's too bad. There's no whisperings or rumors you're hearing so far about the possibility of them coming back.
No, it's really unfortunate. It's just one of those things. I mean, this 2020 has taken a toll on everyone, and like I think some people react different, and for whatever reason, Kevin at Blackstone just kind of went off the map and said, "I'm done for right now." So
wow. Now Blackstone was the one that produced the Lemur Lime. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's true. We sold out. I still have a few bottles left that I'm just hoarding, and that's it. Like I'm sad to see that one go. It's kind of an open-ended question right now. What do we do next? And can we make Lemur Lime somewhere else, or what do we do? But for now, it's just kind of left unanswered. So,
okay. Would you consider working with another ink maker to do a custom ink that maybe shade of Lemur lavender, or what else would be a nice illustration?
I've definitely thought of names and tried to think about colors. It's tough with fountain pen ink because I had the idea for Lemur Lime. It was the color of the brand that I specifically chose, and Blackstone matched it. It was a really cool like CMYK color match, and they knocked it out of the park. I love the shading with it, but it's hard for me to think of colors where I'm like, oh yeah, no one has done a blue ink that I like. There's so many ink colors out there, for me to think like, oh, this one's going to be different and be different enough to want to run forward with it. Except for maybe just like having dark lilac, like Lamy dark lilac, just to be copied. I can't think of much,
Okay. So what?
Yes, eventually.
Okay. What do you have any products you're going to show us today, or any photos to share?
I have some goodies. So this little guy is the new Pilot Vanishing Point LS, which is the silent retractable one. It's got a little red stripe there, which I just found out about today. I've been so busy shipping. We got these in stock, and I just added them to the site today. So it's the normal Vanishing Point click. And I thought this was kind of gimmicky when it first came out, but the mechanism to retract it is dead silent. So it's hard to show on this, but I mean, it doesn't have that same click when you retract it, which I guess was a deterrent for some people, but this is just kind of like a fun extra thing where the fit and finish is a little bit nicer. The details.
Is that a matte finish?
Yeah, so this one's matte black.
Okay.
With like a little red racing stripe on the release mechanism right here.
Oh wow!
And it comes. I have all the others here too, just to show you guys. But it comes in burgundy and blue and black.
Okay.
They're really cool. I was coming. I'll say this in here because it's 23 people, but I was kind of hesitant with this pen when it first got announced. I was like, "Who needs a silent vanishing point?" And I picked it up and I went, "Okay, I want one now." It's pretty damn cool. We also just got literally yesterday a big line for us, and it's not on the website yet, so it will be as soon as we get off here. I'm going to add these to the site, but these guys.
Some Visconti.
So yeah, this is a big step up for us.
Wow. You.
Yeah. So we started carrying Visconti. We have, I'm actually kind of announcing it, I guess, here today. So this is kind of fun.
You heard it here first, folks.
You heard it here first.
Detroit Pen Show.
Yeah. So
now has Visconti. So what models are those, and what nib sizes do you have out of those Visconti?
So this is the Homo sapiens. And it's called the Lava. It's their new Lava, and it's the Blizzard, the Sandstorm, and the Inferno. You can kind of guess the name here.
Okay.
They're fun. I have almost all the nibs for them, extra fine through broad, or extra fine medium, I believe, just to start. And they're cool. It has the magnetic release on it, which is fun.
Yeah. I've gotten to play with a few of those, and I love that feel.
They're hefty too. I like a heavy pen, and for people who like those like really serious pens. Visconti's always kind of been there. And this one's cool because it has their first in-house nib, or not first pen to have it, but they just started making their own nibs. And
Really?
yeah, because Visconti and nibs was kind of an issue with
Yeah.
in the past, and it's
Right.
honestly kind of why we didn't carry it initially, and just because of cost. But um, yeah, they're really cool. I'm really excited to have them. We have a few other models. The Van Goghs, we're gonna have a few of those, and their ink as well. And obviously, if you ever want a Visconti, like a Homo sapiens Dark Age, like I want, email me and I'll order it for you. So we can get everything, including ST DuPont also. So those DuPont lighters, I'm kind of excited to have eventually as well.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
fun.
So
Yeah.
anything that the Coles of London, who's the U.S. distributor for Visconti and STT,
Right.
they can work with you to place an order.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I mean, and
Customers. Yeah. Okay.
we're a small shop, so every single order helps us. You
Yeah.
know,
Wonderful.
it's I appreciate every single time we sell a big boy pen, or as I call them, a big girl pen. We have, I do a little dance because it's like, man, that's a really awesome day for us. So, this is moving up from where we started with Twisby and Lamy and Pilot, having
Yeah.
these more expensive pens, but it's fun.
Yeah.
I'm excited to have them. I just wish I could show people in person, but here we are, virtual.
Yeah. Yeah. So now you've got a little bit of everything, right? You've got the more gateway fountain pens that are, kind
Yeah.
of $20 and around that much. And then now up to the Visconti Homo sapiens, what are you selling those for right now?
636 is the price on those.
Okay.
If anyone wants to buy one today in this room, I'll throw in a bottle of ink. So I'll work with you on price. Do a pin show special, but I mean it's moving up there in price for me. Someone who used to make fun of people who'd spend more than $100 on a pen or 300 on a pen. Now I'm like, oh, that's not too bad.
We always kind of reset that bar, don't we? As soon as we
Yeah.
get more into
Yeah.
pens.
And there's nothing wrong with having cheap pens. I mean, I love my Twisbys. I write with a Pilot Varsity still if it's on my desk and I just need to write something. So I mean, I don't discriminate against nibs. I just if you want something extra and you're like, hey, I got some money burning a hole in my pocket, I love expensive pens. They're really cool.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Now, are there any new inks that you've brought in recently? Any new releases from Oster or
yeah, so
you carry 3 oysters as well, right?
I carry 3 oysters as well. We're slowly expanding. So we just bought a house, and it's been just crazy this 2020. I'm trying to expand product lines as fast as I can without losing my mind. Venta is one we just got, and they're from the Philippines. Their inks are really cool. They have like pastel inks, kind of like shape shifting as I call it. So it'll dry different.
I've seen that.
They're really gorgeous inks. What else? Mine's blanking now, Corinne. I can't think of any. I forget we even sell pens sometimes.
I'm trying to think of who. Are you a Quizzy?
Oh yeah, Quiz. So I call it Quizzy too, and I asked KWZ Inc. about this. I'm like, what do you call it short? And they're like, you say KWZ. I'm like, I don't know where Quizzy started, but I can't stop saying Quizzy now.
I don't either. I said that, and I was hesitant to say it at first because I thought, is that an official? I like to try
it's
to.
not official. I don't know who started it.
KWZ Inc. Quizzy.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that was a pen addict or maybe Lisa Van S started that. Because she started carrying KWZ a long time ago. I don't know, but I love their ink. It smells a little bit like vanilla extract or like candy. It's weird.
Yeah, but don't drink the ink, kids.
Don't drink the ink.
Don't drink the ink.
Don't drink it, and don't put it up your nose. But it's like the faintest. It's not scented. Everyone gets freaked out by scented inks, especially dudes. It's not scented. It just has like a little slightest hint, but it's kind of pleasant. Let's see what else we have. Straits Pen from Singapore. Singapore, we carry their inks. They're really popular. They have like the shitty sepia is kind of the one that everyone gravitates to out of the color ring that people look at. They kind of
I
do whimsical
remember,
names.
yeah, hearing that was popular. What
Yeah.
about paper goods that folks can get from you? Notebooks or
We
pads or
we have a lot of Rhodia in Clairefontaine. I'm papers. Paper's a difficult product for us to sell. It doesn't sell as fast, and it takes up a lot of space, and it's heavy. Um, so I'm slowly expanding paper. I need to get some Japanese paper on the site, but we sell like Gilalo envelopes. So if you do a lot of letter writing, Gilalo envelopes are amazing, and it's again one of those things that's just a little extra, but it's fun. So
okay,
yeah.
okay, very good. I'm gonna, go ahead and open things up now in the chat
Yeah.
for folks to share their questions with us. So if anybody has a question, you can post it here, and we'll get it over to John.
Any questions at all? Because it's Saturday at 1 o'clock, and we're all of us are probably dead sober. I am. So very very unpinned show after dark things here.
They did go till past 12:30.
I'm so sad I missed last night. Just by the way, I again was shipping, and I saw it on Instagram and went, oh my god, I wish I could show up and just.
Okay. We're being asked any show discounts. He did mention the free bottle of ink if you order today. Is that for pens over a certain price point, or is that?
No, I said that for Visconti and the Pilot Vanishing Point LS, but it's not like a discount code you apply if you buy one, and the Visconti's on the site. Yeah, if you buy one, just email me and I'll make it work. So I'll actually make a discount code right now for you guys.
Okay. Yeah, that would be wonderful. Thank you. Thank you.
So yeah, any other questions, you just throw them out there.
And Elaine asked John, what distinguishes Lemur Ink from the others? So what's your unique selling proposition, John?
My unique selling proposition is we offer free shipping at $20 in the US. And it's one of the core tenets of our shop. It's what we started with. I put a lot of effort into deciding what that number, trying to get it as low as possible. I wanted to do free shipping on all orders, but it just didn't make financial sense. So $20 is as low as we can go. And it's because I hate paying for shipping when I buy something. So I think if you buy a $700 pen, you shouldn't have to pay $8 to ship it. I think it should come free. So if you buy a $30 pen, it ships free. And we take a lot of care and packing orders. I use a ton of bubble wrap. I am OCD about how I bag things up. Everything gets separated. All the ink gets separated from the paper. And, we try to recycle packing material as much as possible. So we're just trying to kind of build this company to be as fast as possible with your order, but also take a lot of care with it.
Okay. Definitely appreciated nowadays when we're all getting stuff shipped to us.
Yeah.
Okay. So Ted asks, you said at the beginning that ink differs from country to country. Can you expand on that? How does ink differ? Is it a different color palette, different properties, different flow characteristics?
Tough to say. It's really tough to say. It varies from brand to brand so much more than it varies from country to country. Someone smarter with ink could probably answer this. I think, it really depends on the manufacturer. I mean, some, Pelican ink is really, really dry to kind of make up for the wet nib. Pilot ink is generally pretty much middle of the road awesome. Robert Oster inks can be, mid to dry. It varies more from like how dry or wet the ink is, and then the characteristics. I mean, everyone makes so many different types of inks now. It's really tough to say. I think it varies more by manufacturer than by country.
Okay. And Sandra's asking, do you carry Galen leather portfolios at this point in time?
We did, and then COVID hit, and restocking with them was just really difficult, and they kind of went off the grid with us, and through no fault of their own, really, it's more our fault from not restocking them. They stopped manufacturing, they started back up again. And the way they manufacture their products, we have to place an order and basically wait about 8 to 12 weeks for it to be made. And for us to be out that kind of money for 8 to 12 weeks is a little tough as a smaller shop. So I'm actually placing an order with them, and hopefully it sells. It did really well at pen shows, and with the holidays coming around the corner, I'm sure it'll do well too. But
Okay. We have Jeffrey asking, have you seen a shift in the ink market due to COVID? Are you trying to get Troublemaker or any of the hard to get Asian brands?
Absolutely, yeah. Getting some of those niche brands is definitely on the short list. I part of the fun of running a company is you get to run a company and buy whatever you want, but also I'm not. It's hard to stay tuned into every single brand that comes out because I'm running the company. So it's kind of fun, but challenging, and I miss sometimes these brands that come up. And I generally try to wait a little bit if a new brand comes out that I just heard about. I try to kind of wait and say, hey, how is it responding? How are they doing in pens? Are they staining the pens or the converters? So like we do a lot of internal testing that we just don't really talk about, and I'll put a test pen together with ink and let it sit in their desk for a month, make sure that the ink works and the pen isn't stained. But to answer your question, Jeffrey, hey, Jeffrey Coleman, COVID's definitely been tricky. We've fortunately been doing pretty well online, but the lack of pen shows has definitely kind of stifled our growth, and definitely sucks. I miss pen shows. I miss the people most of all. I don't miss traveling for them, but I do miss going and hanging out with pen people all over the country.
Yeah. You and I saw each other several times in 2019.
2019 was crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, that was nuts.
It was nuts. And 2020 was on track to do the same in 2020.
Yeah. Well, Bill is asking if you're going to be picking up any Australian inks to replace Blackstone. What else is there out of Australia other than them and Oster?
Maybe Bill knows something we don't.
We'll have an inside source, Bill. You can tell us.
Yeah.
You can send me a private chat message.
Yeah. It'll be an exclusive.
Yeah. There's so many great inks just coming out every day.
I know.
Yeah.
There's not others. I know it's weird because Australia has such a big. Everyone thinks it's like this massive ink. There's just two guys, and now it's just one.
We'll see. We hear about a lot of Southeast Asian and Asian inks. From Japan, obviously, and Philippines, and isn't there one out of India right now too? Who am I thinking of?
Krishna.
Yeah, Krishna. That's what. They have some beautiful colors.
Yeah.
So John's asking, what's the best way to know which inks are okay to put in a Grail or vintage pen? He's reluctant to deviate too much from manufacturer brands.
Grail pen, if it's modern, I wouldn't worry. I mean, everything. That's the thing. Kind of everything we stock in our shop, unless it has a warning label on it, like I put on a few colors, you can guess which one. And it's Bay State blue. The only everything we sell plays nicely with each other. I put it in every pen I have. Vintage is a whole different animal. I don't sell vintage because I don't want to have to answer that question. I tell people Waterman Serenity Blue, go ask Richard Bender. I don't know. Like it's so dependent on the pen. And it's something that, if you stick with like Pilot Ear Shizuku, though, you're going to be fine. Like that stuff's solid. I'd say with vintage, especially, stay away from anything with shimmer, obviously, but sheening inks, like really heavy sheening inks, like a Sheen Machine. A lot of the Blackstones were this way, get kind of gunky, especially in vintage. So you'll have some flow issues. So I'd stay away from anything with a lot of sheen.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. I've heard over and over again, Waterman, Parker.
I mean, it's a great Serenity Blue is amazing. I don't have a bottle. every time I see it, I'm like, that's what blue should look like. But um, it's yeah, with Grail pens, like I mean, yeah, Namiki Emperor, you can roll, KWZ in it or um, anything. It doesn't matter. It's all about keeping the pen inked and not letting it dry out, sit in your desk for a year kind of thing.
Right. And Bill's saying, is Van Diemen Diamond an Australian ink maker? Jeffrey says they're in Tasmania.
Again, yeah, I'm out of the loop here as the fountain pen
Yeah.
store owner.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to carry. I need to reach out to Van Diemen and find out. That's
Now I'm
awesome.
curious. I hadn't heard that name before either. So,
Sounds like a car.
yeah. So Don is asking, are Roshizuku inks as smooth and free flowing as any other brand?
Yeah, Don, they're really good inks. If you haven't tried your Shizuku, I mean, it's kind of like a must-have. They're like the Beatles. I mean, I kind of put them up there, and then everyone else's ink just kind of falls in a different pattern. So if
The
you,
Beatles of inks,
yeah, I mean,
as opposed to the Rolling Stones.
right or whatever. They're of course they're good. It's like any other brand. There's a reason that people talk about them so much. They really are that good. And like Yamabudo is a color that
God, I love that color.
you're like, I don't like that color, Momiji, I don't like red ink. Well, yeah, it has gold sheen to it. It's amazing. They're all really good. I've never seen a near Shizuku color I don't like. And my problem is deviating from those things and putting something in my pen that's not near Shizuku. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yamabudo to me is this chameleon of an ink. It's like it looks so different on the paper in
I
a
have
different
it in
nib, in a
my,
different pen.
I mean, it's the only one that I consistently run out of in my 3776. That's a broad, and I don't usually run my inks that dry. I'll usually change out colors, but Yamabudo gets consistently used. So
And now Marion's asking about Monteverdi inks. Have they fixed their spoilage problem? I don't. Do you carry those? Or are you
I
super
don't.
familiar with them?
I don't. I thought their inks were fine. Marion, I'm
Huh.
curious how old that bottle is and what color it was and what like spoiled. If you could put that in there, I'm really
Yeah,
curious.
I've seen a few folks with some mold issues, and I thought they kind of resolved some of that. But let's see. Jesse is saying the spoilage issue is due to a problem with the bottling plant. It has been
It's very possible. I
fixed.
mean, even our beloved Blackstone had an issue at the very end, and it's kind of. I wonder. This is maybe conspiratorial, but I'm wondering if maybe he had an issue with manufacturing and decided to hang it up. But we had some bottles that were gunky, and that was a first for me. It's like I've never opened up a bottle of Blackstone and had it be gunky, and I was like, this is weird. But if when you're filling up your pen on any ink, and you notice it's kind of not flowy, but kind of chunky inside, like definitely don't fill your pen with that.
Chunky.
And don't try and salvage it. Just throw it away, contact the manufacturer, send it back to them or wherever you bought it from. But and that
Yeah.
includes us.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Very good. Any more questions in the chat? Otherwise, I can go ahead and open it up to folks to do, Q&A, with audio and video. So,
Yeah,
so
and I'll answer questions about stuff I don't carry. I don't care. I mean,
yeah,
I freely admit we don't carry a lot of stuff in our shop. We're still a small shop. It's a one-man operation with me and my girlfriend. So we are slowly expanding. Yeah, full replace. Yeah, most guys are really good about replacing bottles.
yes.
No one wants to have that kind of reputation of being the Ken. I'm sorry, creepy Ken. What's up, man? They're MIA from me. I'm gonna write them a handwritten letter. I even tried calling them internationally. Didn't answer. I just need to start calling like every other day until I get an answer. But
Yeah.
it sucks. But this is, if there's a lot of bad things that have happened, a lot of people dead this year from COVID. There's a lot of consequences of this, and
Yeah. It's very
brands
sad.
going under, shops I'm sure are struggling. I mean, everyone's feeling it. So
Yeah. Yeah. Jeffrey was mentioning earlier that Standard Bindery closed down. So
I saw
yeah,
that.
it's, so hey, folks, support your small independent makers and retailers online, brick and mortar. I'm a big advocate for, helping these folks out during these
Yeah.
times. It's really easy to go to the big box online shops, but, when you see somebody like John face to face like this, this is a real person here.
Well, thank you, Corinne. I mean,
So-
I don't like to play the we're a small shop card too much because it feels like I'm just fishing sometimes, but I mean, it really does
Then
make a
it's to
difference.
let me play that for you.
You can play
Shop
it for me.
small.
You can play
Hashtag
it for
shop
me.
small.
Thank you. Thank you. And shop local. If you have a local pen shop, go support them, man. Like
Oh,
I
yeah.
fully endorse that. And I don't get mad when people are like, hey, I bought this from so and so because they're local. I'm like, you should support them. Like that's
Yeah.
keep your money local, keep your all your purchases local. I get it.
Yeah. So, yeah. Hey, Dale, you can go ahead and enable audio and video or audio for folks and those who want to turn on their video. You're welcome to do so right now. So, it's so great to see all these folks. A few of them I saw yesterday and last night. Ken, Robert, Jeffrey. It's so good to see you. Who's the guy? I feel like I have all this insider information. Hong, Elaine, just like it's all our friends in one big room, right? So, but if anybody has a question you want to ask John now, we have, a bit more time where we can, open things up. If you have a question about inks, ones that he carries as well as others, and, some of the fountain pens that he carries as well. If you've got entry level, if you've got somebody you want to penable with their first fountain pen, he's got some good options available with TWSBIs and pilots and whatnot.
John, quick question for you. Do you, if we want to see what you have available, is the website the place to do it? I know some folks don't have a website. They use Facebook, maybe Instagram, other sources. For you and I'm assuming other shops, other folks doing similar things, the website is the place to start.
Yeah, I mean, our website's where you purchase everything. But I'm pretty active on Instagram, so if something is happening, generally I post it there first, and that's how stuff sells out so fast. People go, how do I find out? It gets posted on Instagram. I try and do a newsletter also, but Instagram is generally the first place to go look on new stuff, and then everything as far as shopping is through our website, so you can check out like you can on normal online shopping there.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And thanks, by the way, for your answer on the curation of the ink. That always makes me very nervous, especially with my higher end pens. So I really appreciate your very thoughtful answer.
Oh, you're welcome. One of the things is just in general, like with anything really expensive, watch out with orange and like some green inks. They might have crusting issues. So it freaks people out, but it's not really harmful generally. But I would stick with the big, if it's a manufacturer that manufactures their own pens as well as ink, generally that's like an okay brand.
And your sense is, by the way, the Japanese brands tend to run drier because those pens are you make them
No. So the only ink that I'm fully aware of that is like almost intentionally dry is Pelican ink. And that's because their nibs are just a fire hose. So their ink is generally pretty darn dry. Other than that, no one I don't think really intentionally will overwet or dry up their ink just to compensate.
For their particular pen.
Correct, yes. Yeah, you're welcome.
Hi, John. How are you? Good afternoon.
Hey.
I have a quick question for you about Ackerman because it's one of the brands I've never tried, but I love their bottles. How hard is it to fill a pen with those bottles?
It's ridiculously easy. I thought of bringing one upstairs. Their inks are so freaking cool. So little known secret to all 23 of you is that it's Diamine ink in there. So Diamine makes the ink for Ackerman, and then someone makes the really cool glass bottles. And so tighten the cap, tip it over. It fills the little part on top of the bottle, and it's ridiculously easy to fill. I love my Ackerman ink. It's really hard for me not to go just take one out of inventory and have every single color. But right now, actually, and before you go looking on the website, they're almost sold out just because of COVID. So Diamine, I believe, shut down. So everything you see with Diamine, like they're not coming out with an ink vent this year. So Ackerman is, and we buy it directly the same way you can buy Ackerman from Ackerman's website, and I buy it just like a normal customer. I just buy a lot of it, and I save on shipping that way. So
thank you.
Hey, you're welcome.
And there's some questions here coming up in the chat about making inks wetter or making inks drier. Back to Ackerman, does Ackerman run rather wet?
It's the same as Diamine, and it depends on the color. So like Shocking Blue is one of my favorites, but it's really sheeny, and sheeny inks tend to run drier. And not really dry, but almost, some people say blobby. I think it's over generalizing. It's just, it will be drier than a normal like black ink. So, or normal blue ink. So again, the more sheen it has in it, generally, the drier the flow. But more often than not, this is a nib adjustment issue, not an ink issue. So if you want it to go drier, I would get your pen adjusted to run a little bit drier. Personally. Other questions here? The agents. Yeah, Bill, to answer your question, I know Lisa Van Ness sells White Lightning. I haven't tried it before to make inks wetter. And again, drier, I would say just use it. Everyone has a couple dried pens, I'm sure. Use it in that one.
Sure. I just didn't know if there was a chemical additive that could be made that was available for making inks drier.
I think you're the first person who ever asked me that. So that's interesting. Generally, I thought the thing is you want it to be wetter, but I think go with Pelican ink, man. Just check out Pelican inks. Everything they make is a lot drier.
Yeah, well, I have a bunch of other inks, and
Okay.
I've got some Pelican pens, and I have found that if I'm not using Pelican ink in that pen, that M1000 is like you say, it's a fire hose, even though it's listed as an extra fine.
Right.
It's writing at least a medium.
I feel your pain. I have ink probably on the nib now. Yep. On there. So I don't know what to tell you except just to watch out when you uncap it and keep using Pelican ink, or go for a really thick sheening ink like an Ackerman 5 Shocking Blue, or anything like a Sheen Machine even. But you might get some gunking issues. Just use really good pen hygiene whenever you use a super sheeny ink.
Sure. Right. Good advice.
Thank you.
We're also seeing some advice in the chat, which is wonderful, about adding distilled water to dilute the surfactant. That's from Ken. Thanks, Ken. And Michael is saying he uses platinum inks to dry things up a bit. I don't know that I've ever used platinum inks.
I just cartridges and the carbon black. To be totally honest, I have not messed with their Kodak Photo Flow. Jeffrey, that's insane.
That's what they use in Europe. It's essentially the same chemical basis as the White Lightning, and so
taking notes here.
Ana Encantadora, when I had her on the podcast, we talked about that most Europeans will use like a drop, if not just a dab of Kodak Photo Flow, because it's easy to get in Germany in like giant bottles.
Well, yeah, here we're going to go, what's Kodak and what's a photo?
Right.
Uh,
Okay. Yeah, and Jesse is saying he uses Pelican 4001 for a dry ink. So yeah, some really great suggestions in here. Maybe we have a blog post idea for you, John.
I
Something
have
you
all
write
these
out.
ideas. It's just a matter of doing them. And yeah, this is wetness is one of those things that, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, Bill, that ink is also pretty dry. I'd try the Kodak Photo Flow. That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
And ratio, yeah, just try a drop. I would put it in, and before you drop it in your bottle of ink, just because I would do the same thing, I would put it in a sample vial first and then put the drop in there.
Yeah,
Right?
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually keep some sample bottles of various things for testing pens with. And I have some of that Van Ness's White Lightning, and I'll tend to mix up like a 10 milliliter batch and label it and set it aside. So if I have an ink that feels like it's running a bit dry or a pen that's running a bit dry, I'll use that in that, the slightly wetter ink in that. So.
Yes, this is my. I have a new pen day. I've had this guy sitting in a box from Nespresso, and I'm that guy that drink Nespresso, so I got the free pen. I was going to sell this because I don't use ballpoints that much, but this thing writes so damn well. I'm keeping it. So
Was that a Caran d'Ache?
Caran d'Ache, yeah. Or as we say in Indiana, Caran d'Ache. It's great. I love them. A good ballpoint is really, I can't believe I'm saying this, it's really fun. So
No, I agree with you. I love my Retro 51s and my vintage Parker Jotters, and
yeah. Parker Jotters are amazing too. I love to click on those.
Yeah. So, are there any other questions that folks have for John while he's here? We do have, about maybe 10 more minutes or so before we have to change tracks. The Meet the Makers panel is coming up at 2 p.m. Eastern today, and that should be a lot of fun for folks.
Good.
Cool. And thanks, guys, for stopping in here and hearing me talk about fountain pens and all the fun things. Okay, so this is going to be a thing now. Caran d'Ache. And Caran d'Ache is another company I want to carry, but it's like I want this pen, and then they sell like really expensive pens. If you look at their site, you're like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Discount code. Oh yeah, here. I'm sorry, guys. Let me get this discount code. It's going to be Detroit is the discount code, and it's good for 15% off. And I will just make it for this whole weekend, so you guys get today and tomorrow, just for you guys.
And I've put that in the chat so you can see. Detroit gets you 15% off during the show weekend.
Yeah, there you
And
go.
there's no minimum purchase required.
Nope, you can buy an ink sample. And by the way, ink samples, I am making more of those every day, so keep an eye out on those.
Okay. Somebody leave me a bottle of Ackerman Trev, please. Don't buy them all up, okay? I really love that color. Or if someone wants to buy that for me, hey, you can send me a message and I'll send you my address. You can ship it on over.
Hey, hi, this is Peggy. I'm wondering if I could throw in one last question.
Absolutely.
So on your website, how hard would it be to have sold out items sort to the bottom of the list?
It's a good question. That is Lemur 2.0. We're going to work on hopefully a new website soon once we can get settled here. And that's one of those things that is frustrating for me is when something's sold out, it doesn't show in the list. It's not as simple as just doing it. But that's a good suggestion. I'll add it to our short list of things that like, and by all means, any feedback on the website like this, where you're like, hey, can you do this? Like I really want to make it as good as possible. So, and I forget because I don't shuffle my own site. So that stuff. That's really good feedback, and I'll definitely put that on the list.
I figured if it were easy, you would have already done it. So
No, sometimes the easiest things are also the most difficult, so thank you.
thank you.
Do we have any questions from anyone else? Or let's see. Elena's asking, does Pilot Vanishing Point LS stand for luxury stealth?
It does now. It absolutely does now. That's I'm gonna steal that one. I'll give you credit, Elaine. Thank you.
Luxury stealth. Yeah.
Yeah. These things are cool. I'll see if you can hear the click. It's like pretty quiet compared to normal.
It's so quiet.
A
So
normal.
now, if you're using one of those, I have a Decimo, and it's
Yeah.
an audible click, which is
Yeah.
somewhat satisfying. But also, if you're that person in a meeting
Yeah. That's
and
me.
you're, doing the nervous little clicky pen thing,
Yeah.
people
That is
might
definitely
get
me.
kind of, and Bill. It looks like your mic's on. You can ask that if you want.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just so used to typing questions.
It's okay.
I'm
okay.
just curious, how is the hand feel of the new Vanishing Point class to the regular Vanishing Point?
I mean, I'm going to sound like such a salesman, but it feels like a $400 pen now than the $150 that the Vanishing Point is, so that it just as a general price point, it feels like a luxury pen now. Where the Vanishing Point always felt nice, this just feels there's something extra about it. I think the finish is better on it. The trim overall is a little bit different. So it just is just distinctly different enough. I really like it. I was not too optimistic about it when I saw it. I'm like, why do they need a silent one? But it does feel better in the hand, and I think I'm going to have to get one eventually for myself. So I like it.
I'll have to see if I can't get to a store at some point and try one out.
I know this is the thing. This is the pen show problem is that if you saw this in person, you'd go, oh, I get it now.
Right.
It's kind of one of those pens. You'll have to see it in person.
Right.
That kind of brings up an interesting question for me, John. You can speak to obviously how Lemur Inc. handles this, but in pandemic times when we have to rely heavily on, kind of what the retailer is telling us about a pen or an ink, what have you altered a return policy? What has been your return policy? So let's say if somebody got one of these new Vanishing pens and they ultimately decided, this isn't quite it.
Yeah, I mean, everything for us, we have a pretty open-ended return policy. I've never had any issues with it to amend it. So, I mean, if you're not satisfied, I've never said no to a return. I do knock off some money if you ink it up, but within reason, I don't, it's fine. But as far as with COVID goes, everything sits pretty long on the shelf of the return. I mean, it comes through the mail. As far as COVID goes, we clean everything and wipe it down, but we haven't had actually that many returns lately to make it a thing. It's a good question. I just don't have an answer for you because I wipe everything down with a Clorox wipe if it's been a demo pen, but with returns, I generally it becomes my pen. If we get like one or two inked pens, I'll have this is now my 580 in the punch pink that no one wanted. It's now mine. So that's how I get pens.
Okay. Okay. It looks like Hong's got a question.
Yes.
Yeah, I have a question, John. Usually I let my ink completely before I wash the pen, but what my that I shouldn't do that because it could damage the nib. So what's your experience?
And so I'm cleaning the pen with the ink still in there.
No, usually I write until the ink completely out. Usually I did not check to see like how
I follow
much
you.
ink is there.
Yeah.
So my friend like scolded me and told me that I should not do that because the pen company, they said that should not let that happen because can like
I think
damage.
it's fine as long as you notice it running out of ink soon. I've had the problem with vanishing points because they kind of have a lower ink capacity, and you can't see it without an ink window. So you start writing, and you're like, "Oh, maybe it's dry." And some people will press down, or they'll try and get ink out. They'll do this and write. That the only damage you're going to cause is just from grinding the nib on the paper. And without that ink as a lubricant, it can really, you shouldn't be pressing down anyway, but it's generally fine. I think if it gets low, it's not, I don't think it's going to hurt it, but I'm not a nib tuner. I think, that's a good question for them, but it's just like testing a pen on paper. Like you really shouldn't test a dry nib on paper without ink in there, just because over time will eventually wear it down. But it's not like once every a couple times a year when you run out of ink and you actually don't notice it. It's fine. I wouldn't worry about it.
Yeah. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Have you noticed any drying problems with the vanishing point, the Pilot vanishing points? They tend to. I have plenty of ink. They just tend to quit writing.
They definitely, depending on the age of the vanishing point and how well you've cleaned it. I'm in the process of. I have 2 ultrasonic cleaners in my Amazon shopping cart right now, just for this problem, and I have a couple of vanishing points. I'm gonna take apart beyond what is allowed, just so I can try to figure out how to really get them clean. Because we've all watched the videos. I've made a video on cleaning vanishing points, but the ink getting trapped behind that trap door, I think they can definitely dry out after a while. But if you have issues with it, like with one drying out, Pilot's customer service is really awesome. I've sent pens to them before, and they come back pretty fast, and it's like you just pay shipping. And I can help coordinate that as well. But if you're having a lot of dry out issues, it could be because it's not sealing on the trap door.
Right.
And yeah, just send it back to Pilot. That's not something that I would try and tinker with. Speaking from experience, might have messed one up doing that. They definitely don't hold a lot of ink, and they will lose ink faster just evaporating than, like, say, the opposite end of the spectrum, like a Platinum 3776 that has that technology to never dry out. The VP is kind of the opposite of that.
Okay. I thought it was something I was doing wrong.
No, and everyone, I think that's kind of a common thing. It's just a VP's, and it has to be a daily pen. Like you have to be using the VP every day. I recommend, if you don't like the converter with it, to syringe fill old cartridges, or just use cartridges. My girlfriend has the Decimo, and she uses carts in it, and she does not have the patience to try to fill it with bottled ink. And she just hands the pen to me and says, "Put a new cartridge in," and I hand it back. So.
Yeah, I do the same thing. I just refill the cartridges. It's easy, but the little converters that come with it are just useless.
It's the biggest complaint I've made to Pilot is I said, bring back the Con 50 converter, and can you just try, dear God, try to make more ink capacity. But it's just the Achilles heel of that pen.
Yeah, truly is.
But I do love mine. I write with them every day. I just have to keep a bottle on the desk for them.
It's the type of pen that I just like to keep one at work on the desk to grab, to write with, to take to a meeting. It's fine taking the other pens that I've got to meetings, but sometimes people look at you a little weird when you uncap an M1000 and they go, "Whoa." Yeah,
that's the M1000. Yeah, that's and even like an A23 or a Platinum, it looks like a Mont Blanc or like a fountain pen, and people, I think, generally kind of go, "What's that?" I guess I don't go to enough meetings that where that comes up. If I'm with people, it's generally fountain pen people. So,
yeah.
Well, it is 1:30. We have our next event coming up pretty soon. So I want to thank everybody for joining us for our vendor spotlight with John Phelan of Lemur Inc. Be sure to go check them out at lemurink.com. And don't forget, this weekend, he is offering a special show weekend code of Detroit. Will get you 15% off your purchase. There is no minimum purchase required. So thank you again, John. This was
thank
really
you,
great.
guys. This has been fun.
And we will see, I hope, most of you over at the Meet the Makers panel coming up soon, and other events happening throughout the weekend.
Yep.
So take care, everybody.